Namaskar, Adab and welcome. I'm Aditya and you're watching The Indian Atheist. If you haven't watched the first part of this video, do that. There's context in there to fully make sense of what's to follow. Okay, to recap, in the first part, Dr. Mayim Bialik began by telling us that she's a scientist and that she's a thoughtful and a skeptical person who doesn't blindly believe in anything, aside from the tenets of Judaism, that is. Her central thesis is that religion is compatible with science. I'm the defendant and I shall argue to the contrary. You are the jury. You will consider the thesis in the light of her arguments as well as my defense, and then you'll make an informed decision as to whether or not the central thesis holds. Remember, Mayim is not on trial here. What's on trial is the notion that somehow inquiry into the natural world is aided by religious faith. You ready? Let's listen to Mayim's opening arguments.
So how is it that I believe in God, and what does that belief look like? Well, maybe it's easier to start with what I don't believe God is. I don't believe God is an old man with a beard in the sky who grants you magic fairy wishes if you recite the right words or feel guilty enough. I don't believe that God can grant you a parking space if you pray hard enough. And I don't believe that God has set up some code of behavior, and if I don't live by it, I won't be granted my place in heaven among the angels.
This is a common misconception among the educated elite. They think that the God of miracles, the God of the commoners and poor people, is the real problem, and that their idea of God is a whole lot more progressive and nuanced. If you think that not believing in miracles and the old guy in the sky with a white beard is somehow progressive, you're living in the wrong century. This idea of what God is not was for the very last time praiseworthy in the 16th century. Please do better with your idea of what God is. Surprise us.
So if the God I believe in isn't all of those things, who is God?
Yeah, who is he? Or what is it?
Well, the God I believe in is the force in the universe that drives all of the phenomena that we experience as human beings.
Force in the universe that drives all of the phenomena we experience as human beings. Are you sure about this? Because that includes rape, harassment, murder, assault, torture, wars, pollution, global warming, suicide, depression, cancer, AIDS, human trafficking, child molestation, natural calamities, entire cities being blown to oblivion. Well, she said all of the phenomena we experience as human beings. These are some of the phenomena we experience as human beings. God either drives all of them or he drives none of them. He cannot drive some of them because that would mean that there's something or someone else who drives the phenomena other than the ones that God's driving, and so God ends up losing his dominion and thereby his godliness. If he drives all of them, apparently he doesn't give a shit. And if he drives none of them, he can't do shit. Either way, he's useless. But that's not the point though, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. That's not the point at all. The point is that this is a classic bait and switch. There is indeed a force, or rather a multitude of forces, that drive the various phenomena in the universe, including the grotesque ones that I just mentioned. And I'm using the word force in a very loose sense. I'm not just talking about gravity and electromagnetic forces. There are psychological and sociological forces, globalization forces, capitalistic forces, forces of inequality and patriarchy, and so on and so forth. We don't fully understand or probably even know of all of these forces. Those that we do understand, we may only understand very superficially. The bait is that religion has an explanation for all these forces and the complex interactions between them. That's how they lure you in. The switch is when you realize that there's absolutely no explanation forthcoming except the force is now called God, and furthermore, this God, this force, now has agency. It has volition and desires of its own to which you're not privy. So on top of everything that is and remains unexplained, you're piling on something else that needs additional explaining of its own. For instance, why is this force at all interested in what we eat and who and how we fuck? Why does this force get mad and jealous when some people call and worship said force by a different name? The hell is the matter with this force?
God is gravity, and God is centrifugal force, and God is the answer to why everything is the way it is in the natural world.
Really? I thought you said you were a skeptical person. I thought you said you didn't blindly believe in anything. God is the answer to why everything is the way it is in the natural world. That should make a scientist's job really simple, don't you think? That would also make for interesting PhD dissertations. One word, God, open and shut. Why is everything the way it is? I don't know. No one knows. We're trying to find out. What I do know is that God is not the answer. God is not even an answer. God is a word that replaces the original question by the question, God what? For example, why is blood red? God what? Why is fire hot? Yeah, but God what? Hey doc, why do I have a red rash on my groin? Look doc, it's a nasty rash. It's itching like crazy down there. It's not fucking around, I can tell. So just be straight with me, okay? God what? So, just make better arguments. Mayim, you're a scientist. You should know how to hedge your bets. For once, make an argument that's at least superficially watertight. Give us a reason to strawman you or something. You're making this way too easy. Gravity and centrifugal force, that's not God. Like, you're just blurting out random words from elementary science.
You might be thinking, well, that's not God, that's just science.
Literally what I just said.
I guess you're right, but in my cultural and religious tradition that goes back thousands of years, we have a tremendous sense of gratitude and humility for our place in the natural and scientific world.
Oh, okay. Cultural and religious traditions. So we're gonna go that way then. Then why even talk about gravity and centrifugal force? Anchor your argument in culture and tradition and argue from that front. Or anchor it in science and argue from that front. Don't keep switching fronts on us. You want to argue your case or you want to play hide and seek. Second of all, not everything that's been around for thousands of years is good. Racism has been around for thousands of years. Patriarchy has been around for thousands of years. Incontinence has been around for thousands of years. And as far as gratitude and humility for your place in the natural world is concerned, we have talked about it at length in this video. The jurors may please feel free to consult it. Lastly, gratitude, humility, culture, tradition, none of it has any place whatsoever in the scientific world. But Mayim knows that. The prosecution is slipping.
Understanding equations that describe gravity and pressure and force and torque is science, and that's amazing. But having a spiritual connection with that information, so much so that it brings you to your knees because it is so unbelievable, is what it means to have a relationship with God.
What? So I'm having a relationship with God? Because I've been trying to understand the equations you speak of pretty much all of my adult life, and it has totally brought me to my knees sometimes. I didn't know I was having a relationship with God all these years. But enough is enough. I'm breaking up with God right now. I don't know which God we are talking about here, but I'm breaking up with all y'all. Because when I'm in a fucking relationship, I like to know that I'm in a relationship. What kind of an asshole has a relationship with me for more than a decade, and I don't even get so much as a whiff of this asshole? Might even have liked it, who knows? Jokes apart, but all this is so vague. I don't even know where to begin. It's a lot to unpack. Let's see. Having a spiritual connection with the information that comes from understanding scientific equations, the connection being of the quality and quantity of such magnitude that it brings you to your knees because it is so unbelievable, is what it means to have a relationship with God. I don't understand it. Speak English, Mayim. For starters, what's a spiritual connection? More specifically, what does it mean to have a spiritual connection with information? A spiritual connection between two sentient beings, one can allow in a lexical sense. But how can a sentient being have a spiritual connection with information? Information doesn't have a spirit. It is of the same realm as spirit in that it is abstract. What are we even talking about here? Okay, rephrase, simplify. Attempt number 2. To have a relationship with God, one must have a spiritual connection with scientific information, and it must be so unbelievable that it brings you to your knees. Okay, I still got nothing, and there's a bit of ambiguity there. What should be unbelievable again? Is it the spiritual connection itself, or is it the information that you're having the connection with? If the spiritual connection is required to be unbelievable, that means we'll have no choice but to have a relationship with God, whether we like it or not, because there's no evidence to warrant the belief that there's such a thing as a spiritual connection. It is truly unbelievable. So one is coerced into having a relationship with God. That sounds suffocating and revolting and disgusting. If, on the other hand, the scientific information is required to be unbelievable, it's not scientific information in the first place. Scientific information is a subset of knowledge. Knowledge is justified belief. Believing in X is a necessary condition for knowing X. So scientific information can never be unbelievable by definition, which means we can never have a relationship with God. What is going on here? God damn it! Am I taking her statements too literally? Yes, you know why? Because she's a scientist, for crying out loud. She's supposed to value precision and concision. If scientists start talking like gurus, if they start tossing word salads, it's over. We expect scientists to be very careful with what their statements imply. We expect them to say what they mean and mean what they say, and nothing more and nothing less. Or is that too much to expect of a scientist? You tell me.
I also ascribe our ability to think, to reason, to love, to build, to create as divine. Because
what? This better be good.
Because it's amazing that we exist.
That's it. I'm done for the day. Jurors, go home. The court is adjourned. See you later. Thank you for listening. Dhanyavad. Shukriya.